Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Glendale Transportation and Parking Commission meeting for Monday, April 27, 2026. My name is Alec Bartrosov, and I'm the chair of the commission, and I'd like to read the following statement. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100, of course, if you're not here in person. City staff will be submitting these questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person during this meeting. I will now call this meeting to order. The time is 6:08. All right, let's move forward with item 1A, roll call.
Okay, Commissioners Bonston,
Here.
Ortabagian,
Here.
Shabazian, Student Commissioners McArtychian, Student Commissioner Torres,
Here.
Chair Bartrusov.
Here. All right, next item, flag salute. Please join me. Oh, thank you. Next item.
Okay, next item, item 2, posting of the agenda. The agenda for the April 27, 2026 meeting of the Glendale Transportation and Parking Commission was posted by April 23, 2026 before 5 p.m. on the bulletin board outside of City Hall. Item 3, approval of minutes. A, approval of minutes for the regular Transportation and Parking Commission meeting of February 23, 2026.
Thank you.
Hi, Commissioner Bonston. I just have a question, if you could correct my name spelling, very minor, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that. Bonstin. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments about the approval of the minutes?
The substance seems okay.
Great. Should I take that as a motion to approve the minutes?
Yes, please do. Thank
Great.
you.
Okay.
Can I second, since I recused myself last time? I don't know.
You can second, and then just for the record, Commissioner Ortabagian, you can note that you were recused from.
Okay, I second it, and I recused myself last time because of
From the
lot
Montrose parking analysis.
Yes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Bonston,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortabagian,
Yes.
Commissioner Shabazian, Chair Bartrusov.
Yes. Thank
Item
you.
4,
Yes, please.
sorry. Item 4, presentations. So there are no presentations and appointments on the agenda.
Okay, next item.
Item 5, action items. Item 5A, Palanconi Neighborhood Safety Improvement, San Fernando Road, raised median installations and modified speed humps pilot approach. Chair Bartrusov, we currently have 5 card speakers on this item, and let me see, and no callers.
Okay, great. And just so I see some folks in the audience, thank you for coming. If you'd like to make a comment about this particular item, you're welcome to grab a comment card if you haven't already. I think for now, we'll move forward with the presentation, and then we'll hear public comment afterward.
All right, thank you, Chair Bartrosov. I would like to invite Victoria Pakanian, our senior civil engineer, and Arik Harmandanyan, senior traffic engineer, who will be presenting tonight's item.
Good evening, Chair Bartrosov and members of the commission. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. My name is Victoria Pakanian. As Mr. Hernandez mentioned, I am the Senior Civil Engineer with the Department of Public Works. Today, we are bringing 3 traffic safety items before the commission. The first addresses the proposed safety improvements in the Palanconi neighborhood. including intersection realignments, curb extensions, and bike lanes. The second covers proposed raised landscape median installations on San Fernando Road as part of the San Fernando Road Beautification Project Phase 2. And
So,
the
sorry
third,
to interrupt. Do you mind just maybe getting closer to the microphone
Sure.
just to make sure everybody can hear you? Thank you.
of course. And the third is an informational report on a pilot approach for modified speed humps. I will be covering the first two items, and my colleague Arik Harmandayan, Senior Traffic Engineer, will present the third and final item. Oh, no. Yeah.
Can you put on full screen, the presenter mode?
Is it this one? No worries.
While we troubleshoot that, I want to acknowledge for the record, Commissioner Shabazian has entered the building.
Thank you. All right, so starting with, still having trouble with, there you go, thank you. Starting with item 1, the Pelanconi neighborhood. This area was selected for targeted improvements because the city has received community concerns about traffic safety, and staff identified intersection geometry at several locations that could be improved to enhance driver visibility, pedestrian safety, and overall operations. Because this work is planned to be constructed as part of the pavement rehabilitation project, we can incorporate these safety improvements under the same construction effort, delivering broader community benefits efficiently and economically. The proposed improvements include intersection realignments at Kellogg Avenue and Pelanconi Avenue, Cleveland Avenue and Glen Oaks Boulevard, and Grant Avenue and Omar Street. We are also proposing curb return extensions at Burchett Street and Pelanconi Avenue, and at Glen Oaks Boulevard and Pelanconi Avenue. For bicycle facilities, we are recommending Class 2 bike lanes on the segment of Pelanconi Avenue between Kellogg Avenue and Glen Oaks Boulevard, where there's sufficient roadway width, and sharrows on the western segment between San Fernando Road and Kellogg Avenue, where the right-of-way is more constrained. Slide 3, please. Thank you. Moving to item 2, San Fernando Road, the intersections at Western Avenue and Sonora Avenue are both identified as high collision intersections in the city's 2022 local roadway safety plan. As part of the San Fernando Road Beautification Project Phase 2, we are proposing raised landscape medians at both of these locations. Raised medians provide physical channelization and access control that make vehicle movements more predictable. They can reduce head-on and wrong-way collisions, discourage last-second weaving and abrupt braking, and prevent unsafe turning maneuvers near closely spaced driveways, which is a particular concern at these locations. The Caltrans Local Roadway Safety Manual identifies a 25% crash reduction factor for raised medians at signalized intersections. Next, yes, thanks. On community outreach, on October 20, 2025, Public Works staff hosted an in-person community open house style meeting at Griffith Manor Park to introduce both the San Fernando Road Beautification Project Phase 2, as well as the West Glendale Pavement Management Program Phase 1. Staff and consultants presented project plans and conceptual renderings, sharing key information on project scope, anticipated construction schedule, and potential impacts on the community. A survey was made available both online and in hard copy to gather public input on community priorities, safety concerns, and other feedback. We received about 86 total responses. Of those, 27 respondents, approximately 31%, identified parking as a major concern along Pelanconi Avenue and San Fernando Road. Beyond the survey, staff also received follow-up emails and phone calls from residents in the Pelanconi neighborhood after the open house, with concerns focused specifically on the proposed curb extensions and the potential loss of on-street parking. Taking all of this feedback seriously, staff engaged a professional engineering consultant, KOA Corporation, to conduct a dedicated parking demand analysis for the Pelanconi corridor, which will be covered on the next slide. Thank you. KOA Corporation, as I mentioned, was retained to prepare the parking demand study along Pelanconi Avenue, as well as Glen Oaks Boulevard and the side streets of Kellogg Avenue and Burchett Street, which were most impacted by the improvements. KOA study confirmed that the proposed improvements would result in net reduction of 3 on-street parking spaces. This accounts for parking removals near Burchett Street and Glen Oaks Boulevard, partially offset by 1 added parking space at Kellogg Avenue. KOA also evaluated whether the reduction would create actual parking challenges for residents. The study found that peak parking utilization on Pelanconi Avenue was approximately 56% on a typical workday and 59% on a typical weekend. For the overall 51% study, the width, which includes the surrounding streets, utilization was approximately 51% on weekdays and 54% on weekends. These numbers indicate that at the busiest times, roughly 40 to 50% of available spaces remain open. KOA did find that parking demand is higher closer to Glen Oaks Boulevard, as you can see on the slide. But the study concluded that the parking would remain available for after the reduction. Based on these findings, we recommend moving forward with the proposed Pelanconi neighborhood safety improvements as planned. Staff also notes that this parking analysis was prepared specifically in response to neighborhood concerns. It was not a standard requirement for the project. We want the Commission to know that the community's input and feedback is heard, taken seriously, and directly informed additional technical work before staff brought this to the Commission today. Slide 6, please. Thank you. For the San Fernando Road, Kittleson and Associates prepared separate traffic and parking studies for both Western Avenue and Sonora Avenue intersections. The traffic analysis applied that the Caltrans local roadway safety manual's 25% crash reduction factor for raised medians at signalized intersections. The results show that the proposed changes would not negatively affect traffic flow. Both intersections are expected to continue operating at acceptable levels of service during the busiest morning and evening peak periods, with no noticeable changes in delay, congestion, or vehicle queuing. On parking, the design team proactively adjusted the layout of the raised medians to reduce impacts on on-street parking for adjacent businesses. Based on these findings, staff supports moving forward with the installation of the raised medians as part of the San Fernando Road Beautification Project Phase 2. With that, I will turn it over to Arik Harmandayan.
Thank you, Victoria. Next slide, please. Perfect. This item on a modified speed hump pilot approach is being presented for information purposes only. The purpose is to evaluate whether additional traffic calming devices, such as speed tables and stagger speed humps, should be considered on street classifications that are not well served by the current neighborhood traffic calming program. Potential locations include corridors such as East Glen Oaks Boulevard, Chevy Chase Drive, South Verdugo Road, and other streets where requests otherwise met the NTCP criteria, but could not move forward because of the emergency response, speed limits, or roadway widths considerations. The goal of the pilot is to test whether these treatments can improve speed compliance while still accounting for accessibility, drainage, maintenance, emergency access, and overall neighborhood livability. Next slide, please. Glendale's current neighborhood traffic calming program humps and lumps are relatively short. Higher profile devices designed for narrower roadway applications. The pilot concepts shown here are longer and more gradual, which may make them better suited to wider streets, higher speed corridors, and locations along emergency response routes. Modified speed humps would use a longer, staggered profile, while speed tables would provide a flat top design that still encourages lower travel speeds. Next slide, please. Any future pilot installation would continue to be coordinated closely with Glendale Police and Glendale Fire so that traffic calming benefits are balanced with emergency response and operational needs. Under the current NTCP process, petition packets must still be collected and verified before installation. The TPC Council may consider to, the TPC and Council may consider to maintain this requirement or streamline the process for these pilot locations. Staff is also mindful of community input, and recent outreach has shown strong resident interest in speed humps, with modified speed humps emerging as a preferred variation. At this stage, the planning level estimates is about $25,000 per location, and if the pilot performs well, staff will return to the Commission and City Council with results and recommendations on whether to expand the neighborhood traffic calming program toolbox. Next slide, please. Commissioners and members of the public, the recommended actions this evening is to pass 3 motions. The first motion is to recommend that the City Council take action regarding the Pelanconey neighborhood safety improvements, including bike lane installations on Pelanconey Avenue between Kellogg Avenue and Glen Oaks Boulevard. Second motion is to recommend that the City Council take action regarding the installation of raised landscape medians as part of the San Fernando Road Beautification Project Phase 2. And the final motion is to note and file the information on the pilot approach for the modified speed humps. Thank you all for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. I have a quick clarifying question perhaps for the attorney. I would expect that these would be like separate items since we're potentially providing recommendation for them as their own distinct items. Is that how you'd like us to provide direction or advise staff, or how would you like us to package our comments?
So Chair Bartros, from a legal perspective, under the Brown Act, so long as each of the items is described within the agenda header and the subsequent actions, it's compliant. How the department would like to take feedback, I leave to the director.
So with that said, at this juncture, it would probably be best to separate them so that each item can be treated independently.
Okay. Okay, I understand that. Why don't we go ahead with public comment, and then we'll have commissioners ask questions and provide their thoughts. So why don't we take public comment first?
First speaker, Patrick Masihi. After Patrick Masihi is Juan Palacios. My apologies.
Thank you. And before you begin, we're giving 3 minutes for each speaker. So, yes, Patrick.
I do have a presentation. I was hoping I could get the 5 minutes, Mr. Chair, if that's possible. But okay, I'll try to do it in 3.
Thank you.
Chair Bartros and members of the commission, if we can go ahead and start this presentation. I'm here in opposition, along with neighbors that are also here in opposition of the proposed Planconey project. And I want to thank Mr. Hernandez for separating this, so at least the commissioners will have a choice to make a decision on each one separately. The Planconey Avenue plan was made clear to us last year when one of our residents accidentally talked to a city employee, and they said, "Oh, we have plans for Planconey." And nobody knew this, so he had to actually dig into the city's departments to get the plans out. What you see in front of you hasn't changed since last year, even though we've met city officials numerous times to come up with our opposition to this project the way it's designed. We're willing to work with them in terms of massaging this in a way that it fits the neighborhood, but apparently they listened and they smiled, and it's the same plan. Nothing has changed. They're just trying to push this through, and by the way, making statements that, you guys are working with the neighborhood. No, you're not, because the neighborhood said no. I do have 90% of Planconey Avenue signing against this proposed project. This has been shared with Mr. Hernandez. He knows it. I can share it with you now. if you can pass this around, these are the petitions signed by the residents. We are against this because there's parking issues, and there's a piece of paper on your desk which I cannot talk about, but it says that the KOA results are flawed. And there's certain things I cannot say here, but I have pictures which I want to show you what the street looks like on a weekend and at nights. KOA wasn't around on weekends and nights. Your KOA research was based on weekdays when people were at work. Again, I need more time because, again, I need the slides to be changed. So, so we invested in this neighborhood because it's a beautiful wide street. We do not need this street to be narrowed down. This is what it looks like on a weekend. As you can see, every parking space is filled. This is looking toward Glen Oaks from the middle of the street, looking north toward Glen Oaks. There is no parking available. The KOA study is, again, flawed, and there's a piece of paper also that will attest to that. Next, please. Again, this is Burchett. As you can see, Burchett is packed on a weekend. There's no parking space on Burchett. And again, if you make this even narrower with your proposed bump outs, how are cars going to get in? Right now, it's tough to even get into Burchett. It's tight enough. So your so-called, bump outs bringing safety, absolutely not. By the way, one thing you'll notice, you have no police report saying there's any safety concerns on Planconey. Why is that missing? Because guess what? We have no accidents and no safety issues on Planconey Avenue. That should have been part of the report if there are safety concerns. No safety issues. Very few cars. Again, parking is an issue. If I can have another minute or two, Chair.
Yeah, I'll give you 60 seconds. I need to be fair to everybody.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I
So-
know there was a delay, so I'll give you 60 seconds.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So if you can please move on to the next slide. Yeah, again, looking at the street, again, parking on a weekend, it's packed. And these are, again, pictures that were taken on Sunday, just to show you guys that, what KOA has in front of you is totally flawed. Next, please. Again, looking northward, that blue building that you see used to have parking, but again, because of the state law, now apartment complexes can take away all their parking and make it into ADUs. Those bottom windows in that building, that's a new ADU that was built. It has absolutely no parking. And as you can see, there's 3 parking spaces in front of it, and all 3 are packed. If you make a bump out on Glen Oaks, those are gone. 2 of them are gone. So again, with your studies that you've done, you have never taken into consideration that now apartment buildings can actually take away all their parking. Next, please. Again, the street, next. Again, we are asking you to hopefully reject this and take it back so the city staff can work with us to massage this. We do not need dedicated bike lanes. We are for bike stamps. We are for bike stamps. And again, no bump outs. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Juan Palacios.
Good afternoon, Chair Commissioners and Commissioner members. My name is Juan. I live on Planconey. I live right where those pictures were shown. As he mentioned, Patrick mentioned, the building used to have 5 parkings with 7 units. They took away the parking, they added 2 more units, making it a 9-unit building. Each of those members' units who are the residents who are now in the units, they drive 2 to 3 cars now. There is no parking. I don't know what service or what time they're doing the service, but most of them work during the day, so it's pretty clear during the day. But if you come anytime, 7 or 8 o'clock at night, it's congested. The bump outs also raise concerns about the safety of getting into Planconey with the bump out. If you drive from Glen Oaks and you make a right into Planconey, the bump out is going to be a little bit tighter to make that right. We all know that the Glen Oaks is like a racetrack. So slowing down, we already make a turn into it, but we have people right on our tail. That's the way it is. I hope something can change about that, but that's the way it is. But if we put a bump out and we make a right into the Planconey, it's going to be a lot more hazardous to do that with people right on our tails. Another thing is I want to point out is that we have the quality of life that we have right now is stressful because of the parking. We have people going into Burchett, making the left into Burchett, and into past Burchett, and this is what you'll find at night. We are concerned about that. We have now more than 20 cars just from that one building alone that they came in September. In October, it was fully occupied. From October to now, that's what we have, 20 new cars. And I live right next door to it, so it immediately impacts me. My father, who's an elderly man who couldn't find parking one night, he parked around Burchett, and I was waiting for him, and he fell and he had a concussion on Burchett. He couldn't answer his phone. I was looking for him, didn't know where he was, because he couldn't find parking in front of my house. So now I try to park in the street so that if he comes, which he doesn't give me notices, he comes in, he can park in my driveway. This is now the quality of life now is stressful, not only for me, but all of my neighbors, including the new members of the Pelanconi, which are the people from the apartments. The quality of life is stressful at night. I don't know when the survey was done, but it wasn't done at night. I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Brett McLeod. Following Brett McLeod is Kate Unger, and then Heather Brooks.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I'm Brett McLeod. I've been living on Omar Street for over 20 years, homeowner right across the street from the proposed changes to Omar and Grant. While I do appreciate the idea of making things more safe, I can attest that this is a very quiet street. There isn't hardly any through traffic going through there. It's just neighbors. We were just out there talking tonight and stood in the middle of the street for 10 minutes and not a car drove by. That intersection is nice open space, and the idea of it being encroached by more curbs does not seem like a good idea to me. It seems like it would make things, look a lot more congested. Since I've lived there more than 20 years, I've never seen or heard of an accident or anybody being injured or any concerns about that. So I would be interested in knowing if there is any history of an accident at that intersection. The other thing I want to mention is that some of the other intersections that have been modified recently, like the Concord and Patterson intersection and the Grange and San Fernando intersection, are very tight. And I've driven in Glendale for over 30 years, and it's a little scary negotiating those intersections now, because even if you're going slow, you can't control the other driver that's flying through an intersection. And if there's a tight spot, there's no wiggle room for you to move out of the way of somebody else. So I personally think that making these tight little intersections is a bad idea, and I don't want it on my street, and that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Kate Unger.
Hi, thanks everybody. I'm used to city council where I do mayor, city council member, staff. So commissioners, staff, thank you very much. I'm Brett's neighbor. I'm the reason he knows about this. Nothing that the city did let him or anybody else know about it. I found out about it because I went to an open house for the San Fernando beautification project, and I discovered that something was happening proposed for my street because I happened to be there. Even afterwards, I've let the staff know that this has been a significant issue. I've tried to talk to neighbors, and first of all, it's very hard to get people engaged on something like this, but second, none of the information is at all transparent. The agenda for this meeting doesn't list this intersection as an issue. The survey was very limited characters to be able to give input. I was able to get a couple of people to send emails. There were other people who said, the city doesn't even want to hear from me. I'm not the landowner, I'm just a renter. So we have significant issues with people finding out about this. I've talked to your engineering staff, and I totally get it. Super, super hard to get people engaged. Really hard. You can have an open house, you can have a meeting, and people just don't show up. The only way to really engage people is to go to them. And again, I understand your staff is busy. They have a lot of things on their plate. It's very hard. The city doesn't give enough resources for staff to be able to do the outreach that's really called for. So as an example, not possible to do like door knockers or like door hangers or knocking at doors to let people know about this before the decision has been made. However, after the decision is made, when construction is going to happen, yeah, everybody's going to get their door knocked on or at least have a door hanger left because construction is going to happen. So everybody finds out about it once it's a done deal. But we don't have the opportunity to give input beforehand. So that's my first thing. This is going to be sprung on people, except for the people that I was able to reach out to. And I have a couple of neighbors here that I was able to tell about this. This is a solution in search of a problem at the intersection of Grant and Omar. It's such a sleepy intersection. Like Brett said, we stood out there. It was like 5 o'clock and we were standing out there and nobody came by. I've lived there even longer than him, never have had a problem at this intersection. It's not a safety issue. Why would you waste the money on an intersection like this when there actually are legitimate safety concerns in the immediate area? We have the section on both Concord and Highland from Glen Oaks to San Fernando with very few places where you can cross. We really need crosswalks, at least one on Concord, at least one on Highland. That would be a much better use of this money. And I really want you all to recognize that you have to credit the residents as knowing what we're talking about. It's a safe intersection. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
Next speaker, Heather Brooks.
Hello, it's Heather Brooker, actually.
Brooker, my
It's okay. Chair and committee members, thank you all for being here and hearing us. We appreciate it so much. I'm Heather. I have lived on Palanconi for about 12 years now, so I know that area very well. And I am asking you to stop this project and listen to the people who actually live there. More than 90% of the residents have signed a petition saying we do not want these changes. That alone should give you serious pause in your actions. This isn't a small disagreement. It is an overwhelming community opposition from voters that affect our quality of life. The data being used to justify this also doesn't reflect reality. As some of the other folks have said here, a parking study done at 11 o'clock in the morning doesn't reflect the reality of the residents and what we experience every day. Evenings and weekends are when people are home. That's when families are gathering together, and that's when parking is nearly impossible. Removing more spaces, and this will remove many spaces in areas, will make this way worse than it is. The areas they showed in green on the map, those are permitted areas. So the people who live closer to Glen Oaks and along Glen Oaks and those apartments can't park past that area anyway without a permit. So you're already going to be cramming them further up against Glen Oaks, making that whole area where I live, which is on Burchett and Palanconi, even worse. And then there's the bike lane. It runs 600 feet into Palanconi Avenue, does not connect all the way through the street. This makes no sense. That is not meaningful infrastructure for cyclists. It is incomplete, and it will not significantly improve safety or usability for riders, but it will absolutely impact drivers and residents who live there. Finally, we're talking about spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayer money, mind you, on a project that lacks community support, relies on limited data, and delivers limited benefits. And with a city that is $34 million in debt, that feels reckless and irresponsible. We all want safer streets, but this plan as designed doesn't achieve that. We know this isn't a done deal, and we appreciate you taking the time to listen to our concerns. Please consider listening to us, reconsider this proposal, engage the community in honest investing in solutions that truly serve everybody. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
There are no more speakers and no callers.
No callers? Okay, great.
Chair Bartoshov?
Yes.
If I may, just for the record, just I do want the members of the public to know that we have received email, whether in support or objection of this item, and they have been forwarded to the commission.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for your comments. We appreciate having company here. It's usually very quiet in the chambers, so we appreciate your participation. Okay, let's start with questions first to staff, and then we can move on with commission comments. Does anybody want to go first?
Hi, everyone. I'm going to ask some questions. I think it'll be more clarification. And maybe if we do have a slide that shows the design, I don't think I saw one, but if there is one that kind of shows how it'll look, it'll be great as I'm talking about
It
it.
should be after the very last slide of our presentation. Yeah, there should be like maybe 4 or 5 sheets showing the design at the very end. Yeah, right there, perfect. Maybe a couple.
Just after the closing slide.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
One more up.
I am actually having a hard time. I'll look at it on my package.
One more, San Fernando.
Got it.
Thank you.
So my first question is, and I'm going to ask, I'm having a hard time looking at that. I'll look at my package. I know it's there, but for others to see. So a few questions, and the first question is, there was a parking study that was done by KOA, and this was actually counting the number of parking spots available in the area, and I want to make sure that I understand correctly, and then how many of those parking spots will be removed because of this project. So would you please give those numbers one more time?
Sure. If you can go back a few slides, Ms. Elias, it's the parking analysis where the table is. Let's see if this works. Right there. Yeah. Thank you. So just to clarify and answer some of the questions too, the study was conducted over a 2-day period. I believe that was Friday, February 20th from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And Saturday, February 21st, I believe the following day, again from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And it did take into account the parking utilization on that section of Pelanconia Avenue, as well as Kellogg, Burchett, and Glen Oaks. And if the plan was implemented as is today, it would result in the removal of 4 parking spaces and an addition of 1 parking space. And the reason for the addition of 1 parking space is because of the curb extension at Kellogg Avenue. It would result in an addition of 1 parking space. So essentially, there would be a net removal of 3 parking spaces. And that would be 2 at the intersection of Burchett Street and 2 at the intersection of Glen Oaks Boulevard.
Thank you. So just to be clear, the parking study went and counted how many parking spots there are, and then as a result of the project, how many would be removed, which is basically 4, but then 1 would be added. So 3 parking spots would be removed as of this project.
Correct.
All right. Thank you for that. And then my other question is, I did see that you guys were talking about the public outreach. It seems like there was a public outreach that was combined with another event that we had. Besides that, was there anything else? Any engagement? Any information on our websites or anything else that was specifically done for this project?
So typically for our PMP, Payment Management Program implementation projects or any improvement projects, we do hold a community meeting at about 60 to 90% design stage to inform the public of the improvements and also garner any feedback that they may have for the project. So as the presentation stated, that community meeting was held on October 20th. And for the benefit of the public, because the public, it was for San Fernando Road Beautification Project, which spans in the same section where the West Glendale PMP Phase 1 project falls. We thought it would be in the best interest of the community to hold one meeting for both projects as the impact community would overlap. So postcards were sent out to the impacted neighborhood. I don't have the exact number of the postcards that were sent out. Perhaps if
Was it a specific radius?
I
maybe,
believe
or-
about 500-foot radius is generally our standard in our
this
department.
is within the project area.
Within the both project areas,
Yeah.
correct.
And this was to inform them of the October meeting.
Correct. So October 20th community meeting. We had a pretty decent turnout. I believe there was about 50 people on and off because it was open house style, so they drop in and leave. There was no formal presentation or Q&A. People come in, they look at the boards, they ask questions, they engage the staff members. That was the outreach that was conducted for the project. And then a second wave of outreach will happen with the project once the design plans have been approved by council. And about a month before construction begins, there will be a postcard, a director's postcard that's distributed to the same distribution list within the community, informing them about the upcoming project. And then
This is
a
more for
third
the
wave
construction, correct?
for the construction, right. So, and then another wave of outreach done by the contractor when the construction is imminent within a few days.
Got it. So the one that you're mentioning at that point, design has been finalized, so there
Correct.
won't be.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sorry, I skipped the first part of your question. Yes, the information was available online
Yes.
before the community meeting. The same information that was available at the community meeting was also available online for people. We have been also updating the website on, I want to say, at least on a monthly basis with any updates that we have for the project.
Got it. Thank you. One other question. I'm just curious the funding for this project, where it's coming from.
Sure. We have a dedicated fund for the improvements of the San Fernando corridor. It's called the San Fernando Corridor Tax Share Fund, and it's basically for the improvements of self-explanatory San Fernando Road and adjacent streets. That's where the funding is coming from for this project.
Got it. And I noticed that actually, as you were doing the presentation, that this is part of the pavement plan. So we're trying to kind of, I'm assuming, try to shoot two birds with a stone type of a thing. Is that right? So we have funds dedicated to usually pavement, but I'll let you explain a bit more so I understand it better.
The fund is for the improvements of the area in general, and our approach to projects is generally when the streets are slated for pavement improvements. Actually, it's the law that we need to make ADA as well as pedestrian safety improvements prior to paving the street, major resurfacing the street, which most of these streets are slated for. So with the first, the pedestrian ADA improvements were completed earlier this year in January for that neighborhood. So the second phase will concentrate on complex pedestrian improvements that required a little bit more design work, such as the bump outs and the intersection realignments, and with the pavement resurfacing project, which we're hoping to begin, the construction for which we're hoping that will begin towards the end of this year.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I have another question for you. My problem is with outreach. the postcards that you have sent out, did it say that the lanes that are going to be narrowed, there's going to be bump out on it, there's going to be bike lane at it, or there are going to be parking lots that it's going to be replaced or removed? Did it say that clearly so residents would understand? Because most oftentimes when we do get the cards that it comes from the city, it does not indicate clearly that what is it going to happen. They're going to say there's a project going on, like beautification. Nobody's against beautification, but I just want to know, do you happen to have that postcard that it's been sent out?
Unfortunately, I don't have it with me. I don't
Okay.
know if any of my colleagues can pull that
I mean, from what I
postcard.
hear from the public is that this project will have a tremendous negative impacts on everyone's bottom line. So the outreach is the most important thing, and the explanation should be very clear too. So if majority comes and say that we are against this project, it will have an impact on our livelihood. It's going to impact our way of living. And I don't understand why hasn't it been done more often to get more engagement. You mentioned that there were open houses that 50 people more or less showed up and they asked questions. And you mentioned that there weren't a presentation. People just asked questions, and public doesn't know what to ask. So were you clear on that portion to explain what is it happening to the streets at that time?
To answer your question about the postcard, I don't believe all the details were provided on the postcard per se.
Well, that's a problem, yeah.
However, this the plans that were taken to the public for public's consideration, they were about 60% designed, so they weren't the final plans where we would say, yes, this is the 100%, we're moving forward with this plan. So,
But we are moving forward with this program.
So the reason we went to the public was to get their opinion, to engage the community, to get their feedback, because according to our initial design studies, that was not the indication that we are making a huge impact. In fact, the installation of the bike lanes above Kellogg is not going to be impacting any driving lanes. We're not, because the real estate is there for the roadway, so it's not impacting any parking removal. It's not impacting any roadway driving lane removals for the installation of that. For the realignment of the intersection, it's standard practice for us for any PMP project that we have, or ADA project for that matter, that we realign these skewed intersections to make turning radiuses tighter to prevent pedestrians being in the street for too long, as well as provide higher visibility for drivers. So this is standard practice that we have for all our projects, and with minimal impacts to the community from our view standpoint, where we've looked at the parking analysis, we've studied the parking analysis, and those were the results.
I do understand that, but from the sounds of it, it looks like it will have impact on the residents. All these things. And then have you done this study prior to those ADU being built?
I'm not aware of when the ADUs were built. According to the gentleman, that was constructed in October. Our parking study was completed February of this year. So I'm assuming that would be done post-construction of the ADUs, if I'm to take that at face value.
I honestly think that we need to listen to our constituents. Our jobs is here to make sure that they're comfortable and their streets are all paved and their potholes are all fixed up and everything else. And there's an old saying, sometimes doing nothing is better than doing something. And I think our approach should be to engage the public and find out exactly where they stand and understand that if really it's going to impact on them, it's just not going to go with a project, that this project's going to have a negative impact. I mean, I'm hearing all the residents here, and, I honestly wanted to know more about it, and the outreach, I don't think it has been done correctly. It wasn't transparent enough. So I think you should go back and do another outreach and explain exactly what this project is going to do. People don't know. They cannot read anybody's mind. So I think you need to go out there and exactly ask them, this is what's going to happen. Are you for it or not? And then that data should be presented to TPC and also to the council, so they can make an educated decision based on these things. I mean, we're here for our constituents, so we got to listen to them.
So, Chair Barchstoff, so in response to the comments, so we always welcome feedback. At the end of the day, this is an iterative process. We've been praised for our outreach. We've been criticized for our outreach. I will say that we do quite a bit of outreach, right? And this is a step in that outreach phase. This is an advisory board. We're coming with recommendations. Ultimately, this will be packaged in its totality to the council. So we do recognize we have residents who are in regular communication with us about the current configuration, their opposition to it. So that will be packaged in this totality. But to say that there's a lack of transparency, we from a staff perspective, and I know you don't mean it to attack staff, but we take exception to that because of the fact that we do really try to make that effort to get the word out there. In terms of this, as was indicated by staff, we were at 60% design. Obviously, we didn't have the full design package. That was part of the process for us to gather information and ultimately present what we're presenting to you today. So we've taken everything in the totality. We've indicated in our slides that parking was a big concern. So obviously, we're speaking on behalf of the residents that have indicated that at the meeting. So we constantly try to get the word out. Obviously, in terms of engagement, we have seen an uptick in engagement in other neighborhoods. This, in our opinion, was a well-attended community meeting. So we welcome the feedback, but I will say that we do actively pursue feedback. So I just want to throw that out for the commission.
May I add something? Director Hernandez, thanks for that clarification. Are we doing questions now or deliberation?
I was about to say, I'd like to, the intention is that we're simply asking questions now. Any other questions, Commissioner? Okay. Commissioner Bonson?
Yes, thank you. I do have a few questions. I'll start a little bit with just some clarity. There was an image shown, it looked like an apartment building. That was the building that was discussed as having ADUs. Is that multifamily or is that single family?
I don't believe that was part of our presentation. I believe it was part of Mr. Macias.
Could you tell me where in the map image that building is? I couldn't.
If I'm not mistaken, and I'm not familiar with the exact location of that, I believe it might be on the east side of Pelanconi Avenue, just north of Burchett Street, just south of Glen Oaks Boulevard.
Corner of what?
Glen Oaks. So.
Okay, I thought it was maybe on the main street.
Yeah, I think that's it, yeah.
Okay. So that is, because I was trying to figure out the zoning. I'm a planner, that's what I look at. So it looks like now, if I understand, that's on the corner, and looking at the zoning, that's multifamily. It's not, okay, thank you, because I had some questions about whether it was density bonus or how it came to be. So it sounds like it's an apartment building. They had some, per state law, ADUs that were added in what was formerly parking. All right, that helps clarify for me. And so you also mentioned the parking count was done in February after the point of the residents in that unit being present. Okay. And then I had some questions kind of about the sequencing and impetus, and I believe that they were answered. But, my question was really like, why would the city, how was the decision made for this to be a priority and where it was coming from? It sounds like it's coming from broader improvements to San Fernando. And if I understand it right, the impetus sounds like it's about resurfacing, but in the course of resurfacing, you're also doing ADA improvements, and you're also then looking at bike lane improvements as part of kind of a unified capital improvement approach. Did I get that right?
Sure, I can answer that question a little bit. So as for the curb extensions, that we received safety concern from a resident on Pelanconi Avenue about people driving sporadically doing donuts at that specific intersection. So we did conduct a study. We looked at the numbers and we decided that yes, realigning that intersection is, it makes sense because there's a project in the works for that specific area. As for the bike lanes, Pelanconi Avenue, I believe, is identified on the adopted BTP plan as a shared roadway, as in identified as a Class 3 bikeway. And because the real estate just north of Glen Oaks is wide enough to provide extra protection for bikers, we decided to move forward with a bike lane, protected bike lane, instead of just regular sharrows. And that was meant to connect the existing bikeways on San Fernando Road to the bikeways on Glen Oaks Boulevard.
Do you have a visual of that?
Of the
map
of the plans,
Yeah.
yes, I believe it should be on the last several slides. If you can,
For the bike lanes in particular?
yeah,
Oh,
we should have the plans at the end of the presentation. So maybe slide 13 or 14. One more down, I believe, maybe 16. No, I think that's too far down. Oh, yeah, correct. Thank you, Mr. Harmadan. 12 and 13 should be the slides. Right. So this slide shows the sharrows north between San Fernando Road and Kellogg Avenue, and the Class 2 bike lane north of Kellogg Avenue. And the following slide will pick up the continuation of that until Glen Oaks Boulevard. Yeah.
And then those would connect to San Fernando. Is that what you were saying?
Correct. The existing bike infrastructure on San Fernando Road. Correct.
All right. Thank you. That's it for my questions.
I'm sorry, can I ask just a clarification? Sorry about that. On that same slide, as I'm looking at, the travel lanes are still 12 feet. Am I saying that correctly? Okay. And then the bike, I'm having a very hard time reading this, but the bike lane is, can you tell me what that, is that 5 with a 2 foot buffer? I need glasses.
Yeah.
But the 2 is the
buffer.
the division. Okay. Thank you so much.
Great. Do the student commissioners have any questions?
I just have comment.
Oh, okay.
First of all, I apologize for.
Questions only for now.
Oh, only for a question. Okay, no, I don't have.
Okay, great.
Just a clarification: how many bumps were supposed to be built on the Pelican Avenue? How many bumps? 2?
Sure. So one of the improvements is intersection realignment. That's at Kellogg Avenue that you see right there, Kellogg Avenue and Pelican Avenue. The other ones are curb return extensions, and those are at Burchett Street and Glen Oaks Avenue. So because these are T intersections, each intersection has 2 so-called bump outs. So in all, there would be about 6 bump outs out of that intersection.
Okay, thank you. I was just a little bit late. I apologize for that. Yeah, thank you so much for that clarification.
Of course.
Thank you. Okay, I have a couple questions. Can we go to the slide where it shows the parking impacts? Or maybe it was just in this in our packet. Yeah, this shows, well, since we're on this, I did want to ask or confirm from staff. I know there was a comment from the public about the timing of the study. I saw this graphic as well, and I thought, okay, perhaps you're just showing a snapshot of the parking utilization study by showing that this specific image indicates the hour that it was taken. But I think you confirmed the study itself was for an entire day, right? What were the hours you said?
Correct. The study was conducted between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m.
6 a.m. and 9 p.m. Okay, great.
Friday
Because the
and as well
graphic shows just 1 hour, so that stood out to me as, oh, are we only studying it for an hour? So I just want to make sure that the public understands it was a full day analysis.
So yeah, so the snapshot was of the peak hours for the weekday as well as the weekend. So it's meant to capture basically the worst case scenario.
I see. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And then, yeah, I don't think this graphic illustrates to the public where the the -4 and the +1 are? Do you mind, if you don't have it graphically, do you mind telling us verbally where those impacts are?
Sure. I'm not sure if the graphic on slide 12 would help, 12 and 13. But essentially, so we're gaining a parking spot at Kellogg Avenue, just south of the intersection because of the curb extension.
And is it on Kellogg or on Pelanconi?
On Pelanconi, I
Okay,
believe.
thank you.
And then the parking loss, if you go to slide 13, please. The parking loss, there will be one, I believe, south on Kellogg Avenue, south and north of Burchett, one each, and then one each on both sides of Pelanconi, just south of Glen Oaks Boulevard.
So none on Kellogg, sorry. None on Kellogg, you said 2 on Burchett and 2 on the corner of Glen Oaks.
I believe, no, I think it is, both of them are on on Pelanconi, not on Burchett.
Thank you.
But two at each intersection, essentially.
Okay, and then I'm curious about the existing parking condition and the 2025, it's AB 413, the daylighting bill that Sacramento had passed. So just so the public is aware, Sacramento passed the law, it's called AB 413, called the daylighting bill, which essentially restricts parking anywhere near an intersection. And so I want to just make sure, because a lot of people are not aware of that bill. In many cases, intersections are not painted, the curbs are not painted red where you are not allowed to park. So is the net loss, the net reduction in parking factoring in daylighting, or is it not? Does that make sense?
Yes, great question. Actually, I'm familiar with the vehicle code. I believe it's, just to add to that information, I believe it's 20 feet from the intersection where even if the curb is not red, there's no parking allowed. You can get a ticket. I would have to go back to the parking study to confirm if the daylighting factor was considered when they were studying the elimination of a parking spot. But I can confirm that some of the intersections of Pelanconi Avenue do not have red curb. So currently, people do park close to intersections.
Yeah, I saw that, and I thank Patrick for his presentation, because the illustrations were showing me that there were people parked in places that are not legally allowable parking spots. So I was wondering when I was looking at these schematics, essentially, is the curb extension taking up the space of where you're not allowed to park anyway? So yes, as part of this project, we are technically removing, well, we're not technically removing parking spots because those spots you are not technically allowed to park. So I'm curious about that, and I assume that maybe a couple of those parking spots that we are, quote unquote, losing are already lost. If you don't know the answer to that, I'm wondering that as I sit here thinking about how I feel about the project.
So generally, when we're designing intersection realignments as well as curb return extensions, we do consider that in our design. So we do try to make the bump outs as tight as possible and use that 20 feet regulatory requirement to design our bulb outs within that 20 feet. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not, but I can confirm if those were, if the parking loss is an actual loss or if it's because of the ordinance.
Okay. Okay, I'll put a pin on that and speak to that during my comments. A question about the outreach. I know you had mentioned there were several people that were there at the meeting that were expressing concern about the parking impacts. I was at the meeting as well. I thought it was very informative. To be honest, I was also there because I live near San Fernando and I was curious about what's going on San Fernando. And I was a little bit surprised to come to the meeting and see that there were things being proposed on Pelanconi and other residential streets. So I get how that may have come as a surprise to folks. I was also surprised as well. And I'm relatively informed of what the city's doing, and especially as it comes to transportation. You had mentioned there were a number of people that were expressing concern about parking. Are you suggesting that the rest of the folks were expressing a positive view about the project? I think you had mentioned maybe 30 comments out of 80 were expressing concern about the parking. So I'm trying to gauge what the rest of your outreach results said.
I don't have those exact numbers with me today. I'm not sure if the project manager of that project is also here, Mr. Huang Zheng, if he has that information available. But we just, I'm not sure exactly what the survey results were, but we did receive some positive feedback at the community meeting in regards to the safety improvements for pedestrians with the bulb outs.
Okay, I have two more questions and then I'll stop. The tax share fund that you mentioned, so this project is not grant funded. This is an internal budget mechanism that we have.
Correct. It's not an outside grant. However, the San Fernando tax share is very geographically restricting, and that it's not a general fund. It can't be used everywhere. It's specifically for San Fernando Road and adjacent neighborhoods.
Okay, I was just curious about the grant intersection. I know there's been a lot of questions about improvements to get to the park that we just renovated. Everybody loves it. People are trying to cross that corridor. I know we're near complete design. What are the repercussions of the commission potentially asking or considering moving those resources to a more impactful intersection, if we were to feel that way, let's say? In other words, like how much investment has gone into the design? And if we were to suggest reallocating that resource to something else, what does that look like?
I'll possibly answer some of the question which I think you're asking. I think you're asking for the intersection improvements at Concord Street at the intersection of Patterson Avenue. I believe this concern has come up before at council meetings, and actually we conducted a study of that intersection to see if a signalized crossing is warranted at that intersection. Unfortunately, it was not, so no additional studies and steps were taken to implement the improvements. As far as where the design is, this project's design is, it's between 65 to 90% project design completion. We are, the reason we're here today is to get some guidance from the commission to see how to move forward with the project. I don't know how best to answer that question other than that. Perhaps the director would like to chime in.
So yes, thank you. So ultimately, like has been said at this meeting and in previous meetings, so we come to the TPC to solicit feedback and ultimately form that in our ultimate recommendation to council. There's some stuff at the staff level that we could determine is feasible. Obviously, some things that may not align specifically with our project may impact costs and schedule, so we would have to take that into consideration. So ultimately, we're seeking advisement here, and based on what that recommendation is, we can either potentially make that decision at the staff level, but if it were to completely kind of, there's no nexus or like pivot quite a bit, then we would have to seek council direction.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question, there was a comment or two made about the bicycle facility. Can you clarify, I know you had already mentioned there would be no impact to travel, the number of travel lanes or impact to traffic. is it your professional opinion as engineers that this would make the street safer? And you're welcome to bifurcate your answer to bicyclists and then also to drivers and pedestrians as well.
Well, anytime you create the sense of tighter street, it tends to slow down drivers and make safer streets on a street. And Class 2 bicycle lanes are safer than shared roadway, Class 3 bike lanes, bike routes. So yes, the Class 3 would make the street safer for bicyclists.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think I got a note from staff that we have a caller. Oh, no, that was for oral communication?
Yes.
Okay, great. Got it. Okay. All right. I think we're done with questions. Let's move on to comments.
May I make a comment?
Yeah.
Thank you for the report and everything else. At the end, we're here to do what's right. And I just want to reiterate Chair's question that if we see that this is not feasible for the neighborhood and there are overwhelmingly opposed to this project, maybe we should find a way to reallocate those funds. We should not be looking at it basically this way, that to say, okay, because there are funds allocated to that project, we cannot move it anywhere else. We just got to move forward with it. But on the other hand, if people are against it, maybe we should find a way to reallocate it someplace that it's needed. You know, someplace that it's really need the bump out, someplace that it needs the bike lanes, someplace that it needs the reduction of the parking lots, and then just move that directions. And, you know, we'll learn from, you know, what comes to us. And then I would really appreciate next time around, and if there's any presentation, make sure that you guys have the postcards and the outreach design that it goes to people present so we can actually look at it and say, okay, well, you didn't say this, you didn't say that, and, you know, this is incomplete. So that should be a crucial part of any kind of a presentation. The outreach and the postcards and informing public needs to be present so we can actually see how did you engage with public. I mean, having a couple of meetings here and there. I mean, you know, Chair Bartosov, he's a planning, you know, transportation. He knows all these things, and he had problems understanding exactly what's happening in there. So, I mean, regular public, they don't understand it. Can you make those cards that are 14 or 12 years old would understand it clearly? And if that's the case, and we understand that the public are against it, and they don't want it, I think, honestly, we should be able to move these funds to a different project and leave this neighborhood alone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
I can go. I have a lot to say, so thank you, staff, for this. I will start by, I guess, first saying thank you for all you've done, and then continue by kind of being a little hard on you guys, and then tell you how I feel about the project. So I think, and I've spoken with the director before, and this is not a project specific. I think it's a bigger, maybe a bigger concern overall that we have. The communication between residents and staff. You guys are engineers. I'm looking at these drawings. And, you know, it's very engineer-centric. I wasn't at the event, so I don't know what was presented specifically, but it's really intimidating. It makes, I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm even embarrassed to ask questions, so I don't know how the public might feel. This is a comment not specifically for this project. I think it's just overall. And I think, Director, it might be a call from you to try to bring in some help to be able to have that gap closed between the community and you know, the public works folks. Because in reality, this is actually a project that they want. What we hear in the city, but I think because of the way it's being portrayed, you folks might be very afraid or not understand the benefits. What this project does, we keep hearing about, cars speeding. We keep hearing about accidents, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in this location. Overall, I keep bringing it up. Our city is not a safe city when it comes to drivers. What this project is doing for the city, for this neighborhood, is actually making it safe. And I was looking at the before and after at the engineering drawings, and maybe I'm sure they're available for public. The avenue, Planconia Avenue, each lane is about 20 feet right now, wide. That's too wide. That's wider than a freeway lane. And what that does, it allows cars to go fast. They don't do it on purpose. It just gives them that sense and notion. I have done it. I'm not saying specifically on that. But when a road is, I hope the police department isn't listening, but I have noticed on a road within the city that, it's wider. I have looked at my car and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going fast. And I try to be careful. All this does is reduces the lane to just the standard lane size. It's not even a reduced lane size, because a reduced lane size would be 11 or 10 foot. 12 is your standard lane size. I think Caltrans regulations, but I'll let the engineers jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. So that's the largest lane actually that could be proposed. So what this does, it actually allows people that are turning from Glen Oaks into Planconia, and I heard that there was a comment about a bulb out. Cars speed and without stopping turn into side streets, not just Planconia, but it could be other streets as well. What the bulb out does, makes them brake, makes them slow down. So if there's a pedestrian crossing, if there's a person inside that street that is in their blind spot, they can stop and see, because when they're going fast, they can't see. Even sometimes, I used to walk on Kenneth at some point, and I would see some of the streets that coming into Kenneth and how wide they're, and I was just like, this is just scary, because cars just can't come and turn. So this is actually a great thing. What it will do is it'll make your neighborhood more walkable. It'll make it safe. It'll make it safe for your kids. It'll make it safe for people to not cruise fast on it. I understand that there's going to be few parking spots lost, and I wanted to make sure I understand correctly. And the chairperson brought something up that was very interesting. So it seems like there are 3 parking spots that are going to be removed. And that from those 3 parking spots, it's possible that actually all of those were illegal parking spots, which I'm hoping that the staff will be able to look into further. There is a lot, quote unquote, it's called, like reducing speed reduction. And the way to do it is by all the improvements that the staff is proposing here. Doing the bulb outs, making the lanes a little small, which they're actually not small, they're just a regular lane. For residential, they can go for way narrower. And what it does, actually gives a very safe passage for the cyclists. I see that there are 2 different kind of things that are being discussed here. One is the parking, one is the loss of parking, one is safety. When it comes to safety, this is a great project for you guys. You guys are actually lucky to be able, you guys might hate me and say, what are you saying? But I used to live very close there. It's going to give safety in a sense that cars can't speed. Now, moving back to the staff. I know that staff is doing all they can to communicate this with the public. But I think, and Director, I feel like, sorry, this is maybe specifically to you. I feel that because of the heavy, the engineering drawings, and right now actually I'm looking at the Omar and Grant intersection, all the information, that becomes again a little difficult, a little intimidating. It is a bigger question that might need to be addressed with, when it comes to staffing, when it comes to working with, our council members to see if we can bring in folks that can bridge that gap and can bring this communication, and then maybe even just regular education for folks to understand that bike lanes doesn't mean this is horrible. It could mean great, safe. My kid actually can go outside, and I could go for a walk without being scared, and it won't be scary. I think it'll be great if there is a campaign like that. I mean, I'm sure you've thought about it, and there's a lot out there. But if we have the funds, if you're able to bring this up, I think it'll be great to have a campaign to talk to our people, to residents of Glendale, so they understand. When we have all this negative about safety, what would help? And then from there, we can always pick the tools that we have. With all of that said, I think this is a good project. It's a very small area, but the way it's being designed, the width of the streets, the way the bike lanes are being proposed, it's great. Sharrows are usually not the best for cyclists, and I feel like people are getting used to it. But I think this specifically on Planconey, it's a good start. This is an opportunity for you folks. This is basically a public outreach meeting. I would also ask staff to maybe try to up the outreach, especially knowing that folks are a bit not as comfortable with changes that come. To have more than one, maybe if we have the timing and mainly budget. Budget is usually the reason why things get cut out. I think it would be very helpful, because then that resistance might not, we might not see that in the future. That's it for now. Thank you. Thanks for hearing me.
Thank you. Commissioner Bonston, do you have any comments, or any of the student commissioners? Do you want to?
You want to go last?
I don't have to.
Yeah, can you go?
Yeah.
I have thoughts. I'm still kind of formulating them.
Yeah, I'm happy to go before you, but any of the student commissioners want to go?
I think I have some comments.
Yes,
I guess.
please.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for the presenters and also guest speakers, our residents. I would like to sympathize with our city residents regarding the parking issue. I think the issue with the proposals, with these kind of proposals, is that sometimes local knowledge is undervalued, especially when it is placed alongside with research. But I would also keep the neutrality based on the comments that you made. I don't have that specialization and knowledge, and I would rather say, I'm not in a position to basically question the research. But parking is an issue, and it's not confined only to that area. As a whole, in Glendale, parking is an issue, and based on my household experience, we're having a big issue with parking, and especially as our guest speakers mentioned, if it's narrow, the street is narrow, it can complicate the mobility and everything. But I think at this stage, it's important to carefully balance residents' comfort and also the safety measurements, and to make sure that we're also making the decisions that we're making reflects the realities also on ground. But obviously, kind of try to make the comment.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, I'll go next. I think, this is it's a challenge for us as commissioners, and I'm speaking to the public, because, we are at a stage in the development of this project where it's pretty late in the game. The staff has gone through the effort of designing a project. They've even done the public outreach. We're now towards the the later stages of public outreach as part of this meeting. And, if staff had come to us and said, hey, what do you think of us pursuing this project at this location with this available funding? I would have also questioned whether or not this would be a priority location. So I get it. There's concerns about whether or not we should be spending this money here. Why is it happening in this location? I agree. But we're also faced with the difficult task of advising council on how to address an ongoing and chronic issue of safety on our streets. So, you know, I get it. This is an imperfect system. I don't like the position that we're in today. And I feel like ultimately we have an obligation to advise council on, at least for me personally, making our streets safer. That's the reason why I'm serving as a commissioner personally. I'm a transportation planner. I've been delivering safety improvement projects for a long time now. And I'm also a lifelong Glendale resident. And so I know the experience, both anecdotally and based on facts and the data that we have, that our streets have problems. And we need to address these problems, I think, in an engineering way. So I'm trying to figure out how best to navigate this, given all that. I think we don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think there's a lot of elements in this project that I like. Commissioner Shahbazian brought up some very good points where, you know, there is a discomfort and an adjustment period for things that are ultimately changing in a neighborhood. Curb extensions are a relatively new concept for folks. We don't have them, they're not very common in our city. It's a relatively new best practice that many cities, including Glendale, are now pursuing. And I lived near one when it was being installed at the intersection of Duran and Geneva, behind the Vons and the incoming Erewhon that some people are excited about and some people aren't. But anyway, when that project was installed, there were a lot of people that were bumping their tires at the corners. They were not understanding the radius of that curb extension. There is an adjustment period. People are just unfamiliar with the way that these work. And I think, to Commissioner Shahbazian's point, they are effective. They do require that you slow down when you're turning the corner. You do need to be more careful when you're navigating that intersection. And that is the point. We want people to slow down at these important intersections. We also see curb extensions on Harvard near the library. So between Brand and Glendale Avenue, several of those intersections along Harvard have curb extensions. Yes, they're perfect intersections. They're 90 degrees. But they do the same thing. They calm down traffic. They make a pedestrian more visible to drivers. It does the things it's supposed to do. So I am curious about the daylighting effect on those total numbers. I'm hoping that when this goes to council, you'll be able to definitively disclose to council and to the public exactly how many parking spots are removed with daylighting in mind. I'm curious if that number comes down to zero. So I'm curious about that. You know, the issue about the bike lanes is really curious to me. Like we as a community and as the city of Glendale have been very sensitive to bicycle projects that require the removal of a parking lane or a travel lane. This project does neither. And to my colleague's point, there is something to be said about travel lane widths. You do see an increase or, you know, a tendency to increase in speed when you have much wider travel lanes. Pelanconi is a perfectly eligible candidate for a street where, without impacting travel, without impacting the number of travel lanes, you are able to make the street safer. So I don't have any qualms about that specific piece. The only thing that I think I may want to include in part of my motion, if I were to make the motion, is the intersection of Omar, it's Omar and Grant, right? I've also been at that intersection. I've been in Palanconi a lot lately, and I'm having a lot of conversations, and I do agree that that intersection is extremely quiet. And I just think to myself, if we're going to invest in a public works improvement project, a capital improvement project in this location or in this area, I should say, I would rather see those investments go closer to Concord, where people will have a much easier time accessing this brand new, amazing facility that's called Fremont Park. So I think that's where I'm landing is like, I think it was mentioned that perhaps based on your engineering evaluation that a crosswalk isn't justified there. I know there's frustration with that by the public to see that in writing, but maybe we can put in a speed table at that location. Maybe we can put in, all intersections you can legally cross at an intersection. Maybe we can put in speed tables to make that access a little bit easier. I would personally rather see that kind of investment that would be much more utilized and would benefit the greater community rather than that particular intersection, just personally. I think that's it for my comments as it relates to the Palanconi project. Thank you. Commissioner Bonson?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I was trying to still gather my thoughts because I have to say I was a little confused, and I think actually hearing your comments, both of you helped, three of you, helped kind of put it in perspective. What was confusing to me is when I looked at it at face value, looked at our materials, I also thought it seemed like a really good project. And I wasn't anticipating so many folks from the neighborhood showing up and being in opposition. So I was trying to kind of understand, and part of why it looked like a really good project is you tend to see, especially if there's proposals to increase safety, that has come from the neighborhood. These are amenities that people seek, although sometimes bicycle plans can be, paths can be a little more controversial, but so I was trying to kind of understand where that is. I think what would have been beneficial too for us to hear is that information about the comments that came out of the outreach. To not know the number of kind of positive comments or what particular people liked or didn't like feels deficient in terms of for us to kind of weigh in. For example, I'm curious, and something that I feel like I had to parse out, and it wasn't exactly in the materials and it wasn't in the presentation, is understanding the interest that people may have in resurfacing. And what it seems to me is if there might be people interested in seeing the street resurfaced, but the other aspects of it come as a package. And I think that's kind of the dilemma. But and I understand that they come as a package, and I understand why. But I feel like somehow the narrative maybe was missing, or maybe it just took me a while to kind of figure that out. But again, I don't recall a time when the public wasn't in support if the initial impetus was to address safety in terms of the comments. So again, it would be helpful to understand everyone's comments. I agree, Omar and Grant is more confusing to me. And in fact, it wasn't in the materials that we had in our packet at all. So I was sort of surprised to see that show up, and I can't pull up, the maps on it. So that feels like a harder sell for sure, just in terms of the lack of information. And I'm curious about, knowing this comment, the staff receiving the comments that are being given and the questions that we have, what that looks like for, further outreach or further tinkering, further ideas of what the basis of what this looks like, but getting increased buy-in from the community. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Chairperson, can I ask a question?
Yes.
From staff?
Please.
Staff, I'm curious to know, I did see some turning movement counts in our package, but did we have any traffic counts specifically for Omar and Grant?
I don't think so. I'm not. I will double check right now
Okay, thank
and
you.
get back to you. But
I appreciate it. Thank you. And then, Chairperson, I have a question from you. And sorry, I'm looking at my phone because I'm actually looking at the map. It's
Me
easier
too.
this way.
I'm doing the same.
I see that, and I understand because it's kind of like a confusing intersection when we have two intersections back to back. Chairperson, you mentioned Concord. Okay, I'm just curious to know what intersection were you specifically talking about?
I personally don't have a specific intersection in mind. I know generally that there has been concerns or questions about there being an adequate crossing to cross Concord, because there isn't, in my view, there is not a safe crossing for Concord other than at the marked crosswalk at Glen Oaks. For this neighborhood to connect to Fremont Park. So it's a general comment. It's not a specific recommendation for an intersection.
Thank you. I'll add to that. Concord connects to the freeway, so there is a lot of I do take that, to take the 134 sometimes or the 5. Technically, every intersection is, pedestrians can cross, but I don't know if folks know about it, even if it's not marked, but that's an interesting observation. I'm in no place to recommend the Public Works Department to do a project there, but Director, that might be something worth looking into if that allows the funds to be used in a certain way. I'm done. Thank you.
I couldn't find any historical counts, and there weren't any counts done as part of this. So
Thank you.
So if I may, I'd like to make the motion to...
Sorry, you can't. You have to give your gavel to him.
Oh.
Correct?
That procedurally, that'd be the appropriate course of action.
Okay, I'm
yes.
going to hand the gavel to my colleague. Here you go, sir, and make a motion.
Sorry about the chairperson.
Thank you for keeping me honest. So I'll make the motion to proceed with the project, advising council, with a couple of exceptions or with some clarifying comments. One is to be explicit and clear with the public and with council about what the parking impacts are in relation to daylighting, number one. And number two, I would like to make the recommendation that we redivert this investment at Omar and Grant to another location. If you need me to be specific, I would like to recommend Concord be a corridor of interest. And you've heard my comments. The intention is to have a better connection from this neighborhood to Fremont Park. But, I'll keep it vague if that gives you more latitude to look at other safety improvements that you've identified in the community. But if you were to force me to suggest something to you, it would be that. So that's my motion.
May I make another motion?
You can make a substitute motion, Commissioner Ortabagian, but I think that the chair can also entertain seconds on the motion. You can make a substitute motion at that juncture, but you can make a substitute
Can I do
motion.
the substitute motion now, or I have to wait for it?
You can make a substitute motion.
Okay, my motion would be to reject this project as it sits and have them go to the public and do more outreach and find a better way of implementing safety, including sharrows, including bike lanes, whatever that's necessary, that it would not impose on any of our residents, and come back with a new proposal.
So procedurally, which motion are we taking first?
So if procedurally, if there's a second to Commissioner Ortabagian's substitute, consideration of the substitute motion would come first. There are two competing motions on the floor. So I think at this point, the chair should entertain a potential second to either of the motions on the floor.
Thank you. Would anybody like to second either motion?
I'll second your motion. Chairperson.
Who are you talking to? Okay, thank you.
But I want to add something, sorry. So the two comments that they had, the chairperson had, making sure that the parking situation is clear. And then the other one was possibly Grant Avenue, kind of looking and seeing. And maybe between now and council presentation, if, you guys think it might work for you to do traffic counts or whatever it is that you might be able to look into. I am seconding this motion. Actually, I'll let the vote happen then because I don't know if we do have votes, and then I'll speak to the public. So I'll second Chairperson's motion.
So for the record, is there a second on the floor for Commissioner Ortabagian's motion? If there's not, then the substitute motion would die for lack of a second. And the motion on the floor for consideration would be the main motion made by Chairperson Bartrosov and seconded by Commissioner Shabasian.
Okay, so hearing no second for Commissioner Ortabagian's motion, that motion dies. So we have one motion that remains and is on the table and has been seconded. So let's have a roll call.
Commissioners Bonston,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortabagian,
Hard no.
Commissioner Shabasian,
Yes.
and Chair Bartrosov.
Yes.
I do want to address the public and also the staff. So what I would like to say is between now and kind of staff actually, between now and our meeting with the council members, and I don't know if you have it scheduled, if it is within your power and funding or whatever, Director, I would say to try to have another outreach, specifically kind of letting the public understand what the safety kind of benefits of this project would be. I feel like, again, I think one of the commissioners mentioned, because maybe this wasn't approached as a, what the benefits would be, the public has felt that they've been left out. Again, I think if it was explained to the public the positives of the project, it would actually for them, they'll be able to kind of have a better understanding. And, when it comes to time to go to council, I have a feeling council might, not like the fact that public isn't happy about this, even if, you have planners sitting here and saying, oh, it's good. So I think that maybe that might be a task that I'll put on you. And so the public is able to understand what are the positives that this project will bring. And again, I want to let the public know, and I'll try to talk more to the city about this, that in order for the city, for us to be safe for Glendale, there's certain approaches we need to take. I think our chairperson said it really well. This is a good stretch that's gonna actually make your neighborhood a calmer and nicer neighborhood in a sense of safety.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
What I'm trying to say, it comes to pedestrian safety mainly. And unfortunately, in the city of Glendale, again, we've had some numbers. I don't know if that's another thing that you guys might want to include in your report for the council, and having KSIs or other accidents, if it works. But I think it'll be great if the public is more aware of what the positives of this project will be. With that, I am done, but I think we had 3 motions. So we did one, then there's a second part to our item and a third part.
Yeah, I also want to just address the public. Look, folks, this is difficult. We weigh public comment and feedback as we make these decisions. These are not easy decisions. It's also not black and white. But I thank you for coming. This is part of the outreach process. I know that there was an outreach meeting. Staff was available to explain the elements of the project and hear your feedback. I understand as a result of community engagement, there was a parking analysis that was done. So your participation is working. Some of you may not like the outcome of today's recommendation, but ultimately it is a recommendation and it is going to City Council who will make the final decision. So consider that yet another opportunity to let your voice be heard. And I encourage you to contact your council members, speak with them, invite them to come over onto the street, talk to them. My hope is that they are accessible to you and are willing to listen just as we have. So thank you very much. Okay, yes.
Yeah, I just want to make a couple comments as well. I am, again, hoping that there can be some deep work on the project before it goes to council, because I do think that that'll be necessary. I also wanted to explain, I think the street needs to be resurfaced. That is very clear. And if the other improvements are to come with it, we need to have more of a conversation about it, but I don't think the answer would be to not resurface the street and not to have the improvements to the street at all. So I am hopeful that continued conversations can come with a design solution that helps satisfy the neighborhood more. But I didn't feel like I could support the second motion because what is before us are those improvements and amenities that have been laid out, including those in the bike plan and including those that are ADA compliant. I don't know how we don't. I don't know how we don't move forward without making street improvements and making the required ADA compliance.
Making the streets ADA compliance and do the resurfacing and all that stuff has nothing to do with implementing a project that will impose every one of those residents. I think we should look at it differently. If the streets needs improvements, we can definitely do improvements. I don't understand, why do we have to package everything together? This is not an air conditioning unit that says, oh, you want to get a package unit or a separate unit. No, we can do the improvements, we can fix the streets, we can do all the stuff that it needed, and it makes the residents' life easier. Those are the things that we need to emphasize on and concentrate on and make sure our constituents are happy. And our capacity, this is to you public, our capacity here is as an advisory. And I want to second the chairperson, do reach out to your council members, make sure they hear you. I mean, the same way you came over here. This is not end of all. So you can go to your council members and let them know that you're unhappy with this outcome and the outreach hasn't been done correctly, and you demand this is where your tax dollars are going. So make sure your voice is heard and reach out to them. And if you're not happy with this outcome, just go ahead and forward from there on.
May I add something?
And then we need to move on.
Yes, I'm sorry. I know it's 8. I just want to add this. You said something about packaging things. I understand staff doesn't talk about this, but I wish they could talk about it. The reason things get packaged is because there's no money. A resurfacing project allows the Public Works Department to go in and paint the street. What it does also, it allows them to make those lanes a little narrower, hence safety. It costs no money to the city when they do that. So that's why they try to package things. I am sure if this doesn't go through, the resurfacing will still go through because it's scheduled, but I'll let the director talk about it maybe even in the future. But I wanted to mention that's why usually projects are packaged. It's because of funding, and it's not easy to get funding. And I'll quiet down because we have so many other items.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, discussion from the gallery is out of order.
Thank you. We have to move on. Thank you so much. We have to move on. Next item. We have 2 more motions to entertain as it relates to this particular agenda item. So remind me, staff, what's the next item? San Fernando?
Correct. The raised medians on San Fernando Road at Western Avenue and Sonora Avenue as part of the San Fernando Road Beautification Project Phase 2.
Great. So let's take questions only, and then we'll move on to comments.
And Mr. Chair, I would just clarify, I would recommend to the chair that, although I don't believe that there are separate public comments because the items have been segregated, just that you clarify for the record whether any public comments have been requested on the subsequent two motions. Seeing that the gallery is now empty, I don't expect that there are, but I put it forward for the record.
Sure. Yeah, if there's any listeners or anybody in the audience that is interested in commenting on the San Fernando Road raised median installations segment of this item, we welcome your feedback. So please submit a comment or call now while commissioners ask clarifying questions. Any questions from the commission? Well, I have a clarifying question. I just want to confirm, I think I read this in the staff report, but I want to make sure the public is aware. So there's no, few things. There's effectively no impacts to the number of travel lanes, potential travel delays, and also, did you get buy-in from the fire department?
That's correct. There are no impacts to travel lanes, parking, as well as the operations, the flow of traffic. We did coordinate, and we continue to coordinate with the fire department as well as the police department for the project.
Okay, great. And I didn't see this in writing. Maybe I missed it. I apologize if I did, but I did hear you say it verbally. I just want to confirm. So these medians would be landscaped?
Correct. I believe they're about 3 to 4 feet in width, and the desire, the plan is to have them landscaped.
Got it. Okay, thank you. That's it for me. Any other questions?
No questions, but I'm ready to make a motion if there are no questions.
All right.
I think I have a question,
yes.
but I think it also escaped me. Hold on. I was wondering about what the median would look like. I know my question. Okay. Why are you including level of service as part of the information given? And this is what I was trying to look up. Is it SB 783? I'm throwing out numbers.
I'm going to let them.
That why the level of
743.
service 743.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Is your question why level of service was included?
Yes,
Sorry.
given that we have a state law that basically we don't look at level of service in the same way that we once did. So I was curious. I don't tend to see this outside of Glendale.
Oftentimes, if we do like a VMT analysis, it'll be for a much larger corridor or larger project because of the potential impacts or the perceived impacts of the medians at specific intersections. A intersection level of service might be more appropriate just to see if there are any impacts at all.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, comments?
I guess my only comment is I'll ask the director if it's possible to have this in separate reports to make it easier to make the motions.
Your comment is noted. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. With that, I am ready to move the motion.
I'll second it. If there's no other comments, we'll do a roll call.
Ready? Okay. Commissioner Bonston?
Yes.
Commissioner Ordobigian?
No.
Commissioner Shabazian?
Yes.
Chair Bartrusov?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the modified speed hump. And before I move on, just to confirm for the viewing audience, were there any comments submitted or phone calls for that item? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, let's move on to the third segment of item 5A, which is the modified speed humps pilot approach item. And just as a reminder to folks who are listening or who come into the audience, if you have any comments and would like to speak on this item, you're welcome to chime in. All right, any questions from the commission?
I have a question. So during the presentation, you mentioned that if any segment has been chosen, I'll actually either come back here or go to council for approval before actually the project. I just want to make sure that I understood that correctly.
Yes, that's the plan, is once we determine the final location, we will come, as part of the neighborhood traffic calming program, it's our duty to come back to the TPC and council ultimately, if we need to, yeah.
Thanks for that clarification.
I have a clarifying question. I have comments. I'll just stick to my question. I saw in the presentation that you mentioned the petition packet. It seems kind of odd to suggest a petition process for a pilot project. So how would that work? Are you saying that we want to do a pilot, but then we are reaching out to those eligible corridor communities and then asking if they want to have a pilot on their street?
In the staff report, in the staff report, we did mention that if the commissioners wanted us to deviate from what's in our neighborhood traffic calming program, which is to conduct a survey, essentially asking for petitions, then that recommendation can be provided to us for this pilot program only. We felt like we wanted to be consistent with how we implement speed humps. As you saw today, that outreach is very important. And so if we forego that petition process, even for a pilot program, we felt like it might not be the appropriate measure unless the TPC commissioners tell us to do something different to expedite the process. Because I know it's been a historical ask from the TPC members to us to implement different types of speed humps. So that decision or approach is left up to the commissioners at this point.
Got it. Okay, I have comments, but I'll hold it. Any other questions?
I actually have a clarifying question about that. I understand you just explained that, and somehow it still lost me a bit. Does that mean, so when we get the petition, folks aren't selecting what the solution is just yet, right? They are doing a petition for street calming, and then we select based on our menu, and this is adding to the menu. Is it being treated different when it's a pilot project? Like, doesn't it just become one of the menu options?
If it's a successful pilot program, meaning that
first you
it doesn't have, correct. The pilot is more of an experiment or a test.
I see.
Yes. However, because we're still installing speed humps, albeit potentially for a short amount of time, we still feel like we, as the Public Works, it's in our duty to at least notify residents of the upcoming pilot program. And that could be done either through various outreach methods, or typically what we've done for those is a petition to see if the residents actually want it or not.
Thank you so much for that further
Sorry about
clarity.
that, yeah.
And are you still speaking and I butted in, or I'm speaking? Oh, great. Because it's note and file, I just wanted to commend the bringing of this. I'm excited that this is perhaps, hopefully, going to be added to the menu pending successful pilot operations. Thank you.
Are any other questions? If no questions, we'll move on to comments. It's okay. Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner.
I just wanted to know, can we do the survey first before we implement any kind of a pilot program?
I don't see why not. Like I said, we can follow our existing neighborhood traffic calming program guidelines, which is essentially says that a petition process
that's the right thing to
is
do.
required.
Let's do a survey before we introduce any kind of a pilot program. And when you do the survey, please make sure it's clear and it's understandable for people what that pilot is entitled to. I have been involved with a couple of pilot programs that people didn't want it. Some people thought that it's very helpful, but the residents and the people who live in this area don't want it. So let's do the survey. Let's find out exactly what's happening and explain what that pilot is entitled to. And then from that point on, we can move forward, if that's okay. Thank you.
Understood.
Thanks. Any other comments? The only thing I'll say about about this is I know that we had a very successful outreach event for the Glen Oaks Canyon Safety Improvement Project, which thank you again. You guys did an amazing job and the turnout was awesome. Is there a similar effort happening with Chevy Chase Canyon?
There is.
Yes. Very similar. Same consultant, same groups. It's going to be a similar style. Once we have a open house potential date and location, we will share that with the local residents and essentially do the exact same steps.
And we will subsequently come to the TPC.
Correct.
Okay. Can you give me just a vague timeline for when that outreach is going to happen? Is it in the summer, fall, winter, spring?
The plan is hopefully within the next 2 months, we can actually
great.
have an open house. Yeah. I'm reviewing the concept plans right now. So
Awesome.
hopefully soon.
I expect a similar turnout, if not greater, just based on what I've been hearing about that canyon as well. Well, I'm wondering, people are hungry for safety improvements. I think we saw that with the Glen Oaks Canyon outreach event. I think we're going to see a similar sentiment with Chevy Chase Canyon. I'm just wondering if, as part of that outreach, you're able to get a sense from the community whether or not one of these canyons or both are eligible pilot locations. So, it'd be great to, introduce the concept or the proposal to the community then, so that we're not having to, spend a lot of resources and time doing this outreach effort and then having to go back and do a formal petition in the traditional way that we do it. It'd be great to just get one going. So is that something we can entertain? Can Glen Oaks Canyon be potentially prioritized because the outreach has been done? I presume you've heard a resounding yes to safety improvements as part of that outreach. How can we make this a little bit more expedient?
So as part of the outreach for Glen Oaks Canyon, we did introduce modified speed humps. They did give us, residents did give us very positive feedback. It was actually one of the more popular traffic calming elements that we introduced. Now, whether you want to consider that in lieu of a survey or a petition, like I said, that is up to the commissioners here. But we would prefer to follow whatever direction you give us on whether or not to expedite it. But like I said, our protocol is to follow the neighborhood traffic calming program. And once we determine the exact location, then that's when the petition would happen, or at least the additional outreach.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when we look at either of those canyons specifically, the traditional petition approach is that we are petitioning people who are on that street. But as you know, both the canyons, everybody in the canyon is using a particular corridor. So, I don't know how you approach that.
It gets challenging. You are correct, because we try to capture as many people as we can, but there's only so many signatures and so many human hours
right.
That can be put to collecting as many signatures as possible. So we typically look at the most impacted residents, and we make sure that they are on the ultimate petition package.
Yeah, I guess I'm interested in getting a pilot in as soon as possible. So if it seems like at a staff level it's complicated to do something in the canyon because of these issues that we just described, compare that to Concord, for example, where you may have only 30 homes that you need to petition, and perhaps you can test the speed table there. Something that's very easy to do, very quick. And first and foremost, the fire department buys in and is able to test it out and see how they feel about it. So that's my interest is I don't want us to look for the perfect candidate for a pilot. Ultimately, it's a pilot. We're testing it out. So if it means that we try a smaller segment that's much more manageable and doable, maybe we put one literal speed table or two and have that be the pilot, then I'm all for that. I want something in the ground as soon as possible so that we can experience it, feel it, and see how the departments want to move forward. Yes, hi.
Good evening. I've been hearing.
I did that on purpose so that to give you a reason to come up and speak.
I've been hearing all the back and forth. I just wanted to clarify. So the goal of this pilot is to help us implement the safety improvements faster. It's not to go back and renegotiate with the community, come back to TPC. If that is the ask, then we're just going to move forward with speed humps. The only problem with speed humps often is that the fire department, it doesn't meet their requirements. The pilot for the speed tables is so that it hopefully meets their requirements. So we are trying to get this out onto the street as soon as possible. The Canyon in Glen Oaks told us overwhelmingly, we would like to see this. At the last TPC meeting, the commissioners in front of us, I believe including the commissioner that's no longer here, also indicated you guys want to see this faster. And your complaint was, we're too slow. So we're here today to ask you to allow us to do our job faster. You're only telling us to go back now, potentially, and ask the community for us to come back again. That's going to slow us down. So you guys need to decide if you guys want us to implement this faster. This item is before you to do that. So I'll leave you with that, and you can take the item like that.
Thank you for clarifying
Thanks.
the
Yeah.
situation.
Very different.
Yeah, you painted a clear picture, and now I think we know the task at hand.
Yes.
So
But I don't think we are voting. We're just it's receiving file.
No info.
Yes. Then,
with notes.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, well, my comments have been shared. I think I shared Sarkis's sentiments about having something expedited for the sake of piloting a new element in the city that we can test and pilot and see where to go from there. So, all right.
Do we need to make a motion for that? Sorry.
It is, the presentation is informational in nature, but the action is still to note and file the report.
So do we have to do a vote?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion on the item for received and filed.
Okay, any callers on this item?
No callers at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
About that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Commissioner Bonston?
Yes.
Commissioner Ordobigian?
Yes.
Commissioner Shabazian?
Yes.
And Chair Bartrusov.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda, informational report. There are no informational report items on the agenda.
Great, thank you. Next item.
Item 7, oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. The commission may question the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. Currently, we have one caller. Chair Bartrusov.
Great, let's hear from the caller.
Ms. Brooks, you're on air. You have 5 minutes starting now.
Thank you. I know that this is a transportation meeting, so you're just basically talking about engineering. But, you know, when people are talking about safety, and especially with a transportation planner, it's a myopic view of safety. It's like a plastic surgeon talking about obesity, and they only think that liposuction is what solves obesity rather than diet and eating better. So when you're discussing safety, you're only looking at one element of safety, because one element to address safety, because the cheapest way and the best way is actually enforcement and education. And enforcement makes the city money, and both of those things don't create traffic or take out parking. So when the public is concerned, when you keep saying safety, it's going to make it safer, and the public is like, yeah, but it's going to make traffic worse, because the idea that you have a road calming is just a sweet way of saying congestion, okay? It's like road diet is like telling people you want to lose weight, become anorexic. You're creating a problem by trying to solve a problem, and that's not really a solution, which is very different from, you're talking about road pavement, like Andre said, that you should separate the things out that people are willing to accept versus the ones that they don't want to accept, and not try to also convince them of something because it's just a little too complicated for them to understand, or to tell them that you just don't want to change because, you know, people don't like change. That's also not something people really need to hear. The outreach problem is always the same problem. I have a marketing research background, and the first thing you do is you determine how many people you need to talk to. You don't say you did outreach and, gee whiz, only 5 people showed up, but we did our best. No. You have to look at the population, and you have to decide from a marketing research perspective, we need to talk to 200 people. We need to talk to 300 people. You get the target number first, and then you don't finish saying that you have outreach until you've reached that number of people. Whether that means you call them, you get their phone numbers, you get their email addresses, you keep calling them, you approach it that way. That's proper outreach, and that's otherwise you have junk data. You have junk. If you only talk to 5 people or 10 people or even 50 people, you have to approach it properly. You're not doing outreach properly. The city never seems to do outreach properly. As far as the parking study, you have a one-point-in-time study that doesn't take into account the future development that's going to come in with SB 79. So it's very nice to say, well, only this is happening, but the future looks very, very dense. Every report should also have dollar amounts and specifics, including how much you spent already. People want to know specifics, and I know this was a great report and a lot of work went into it, but when there are details, especially regarding money, and the answer is, well, we're not sure, people need to know that. And what you should only do is what the public wants. To say, well, it's so complicated for them, we're just going to decide because they don't really get it. That's not okay. You know, the public is really just tired, and they don't need to be dismissed because you act like it's so complicated, because really most of these things are actually not so complicated. Even though the reports may be written by engineers and the reports are complicated, the issues are not complicated. I think the public probably understands things even a little better than the experts, because oftentimes you'll ask somebody on the street and they've basically figured out the problem a lot better than all the experts put together. Thank you very much.
Okay. I think we all in this room understand the limits of enforcement and education and what that can do for our community. And so we're here today trying to tackle the issues that come when we feel like that's the only things at our disposal. Okay. Next item, please. Commission and staff comments and updates.
Okay, item 8, commission staff comments and updates, led by Chair Bartusa.
Yes, any comments from staff?
No comments.
Any comments from our commissioners? All right.
Item 9, adjournment, led by Chair Bartusa.
So moved.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you so much.